This is my first time doing a YouTube video. I'm usually very camera shy because I don't like people being creepy on the internet, and I was raised with two people that lived and worked and breathed in law enforcement protecting children. So a lot of habits to keep safe. I'm not on social media anywhere except for this spot on YouTube. I woke up today and I remembered something that I went through 10 years ago when I was in my first year of community college. And for some reason, I thought I would share it. I've been watching a lot of YouTubers that have been evaluating people's videos and seeing if they are Delulu or the am I the a-hole, that kind of stuff. Um, yes, I did just wake up. I put stain on my lips last night because I'm going to the state fair today. Um, so I think what I'm going to name this video is that I got in trouble for reporting a black person to the police and the college campus police and didn't know I was going to get in trouble for it. For a little bit of background, I grew up very abused in the sense that I was not allowed to socialize. I was not allowed to talk to people. I was not allowed to leave the house. A lot of different things went along with that to the point where my environment caused me to register as high level autism. I'm not autistic, never have been. And in my first year of community college, I was 19 by the time that this thing happened. Yes, I was 19 because it was the spring after I graduated from high school. And I was taking an anthropology class, which is hilarious because I'm actually an anthropology major. Now, before anyone starts going on the keyboards, I don't care what color you are. I don't care what sex you are. I don't care what sexual orientation you are. You are who you are, and that is how I will evaluate you. It is based on your personality and how you interact with me. I don't care otherwise. Never have. Never seen the point of it. So I'm in my first college anthropology class because it's required to do like Anthropology 101. And in this class, there is a very, very, oh God, very delicious looking young black man who was 21 at the time, just moved here from Florida, and he was on the football team, but he didn't have a football body. And I think I remember him saying something like he was the dude that runs or whatever. I don't speak sports. That came with being locked in a box my whole life. Couldn't get into it as an adult either. Um, and the guy was very suave, very fun, and being my aspy seeming little self, he was one of the few people that would actually carry a conversation with me and actually talk to me. So it was like oh good, maybe I can finally have my first friend, and even better if it's in college. Because I spent my whole childhood where the few times I was let out of the house and not going to my own school was being taken to my mother's high school classes because that was the only way I was ever let out of the school, out of the house. And to me, college was going to be that safe zone that I didn't have as a kid because I was bullied mercilessly as a child. Just mercilessly for no fucking reason. And so I get to know this guy. We are sitting across each other at class because we're in those community college classes where there's 4 extra large desk sized tables, 4 people to a table, and they're in rows of 3 in the front, 3 in the back, 3 in the middle. And he usually sits in the back, but I take a chance. I go sit next to him because we do a lot of group discussions in this particular class. This professor is very hands-on, likes us doing things where we have to make each other think, and I'm loving every second of it. So I get to know this guy a little bit. It's a full semester class, so by the time we're entering the second month, I have been talking to him a lot. We've been texting a lot, and I say, on the phone, I say, look, I'd love to keep chatting, but I have to prepare my meals for the week. And mind you, I'm riding a bicycle to and from school 11 miles every day. That's an hour and a half during the day and then in the middle of the night that I'm riding a bicycle because the bus system at the time was saying we're not going to run past 8 p.m. And my last class ended at 9:46. So I'm already on high alert. I'm already doing the super safe shit. I'm already being as safe as I can. I live in a house where I'm renting a room for $200 because that's all I can afford. I'm working 6 days a week, going to college 1 day a week, getting that paid for by FAFSA. And I'm making so little money that I'm having to choose between a phone bill and feeding myself while living at $200 a month rent. This was 10 years ago. And that's how bad it was. Like, I couldn't even afford a car, and I was working 6 days a week, full shifts. So I'm used to starving, primarily thanks to my mother. Primarily because this is my first time living in a house that is not her home. I've got 3 other female roommates, all of which said they would be around the night in question. And I am assuming they left without any warning because I'm thinking, you gotta be safe. You gotta be like, hey, I'm heading out for now. I'll be back such and such time. I'm used to that kind of thing. They have not been doing that very often with me. They do with each other. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I was the youngest. I don't know. I'm 19 at the time. And I say to the guy, hey, I have to make my meals for the week. And then I'm going to cook dinner. And he's like, oh, yeah, me too. I've got to make my meals for the week, too. I probably should go and get that done. And I thought, don't have money to go out. Don't know I would feel safe being after dark on a bicycle anyway. He has been talking about how he goes around his friends' houses even if they're more than a 30-minute drive away. And we both have to cook. Okay. He seems like a reasonable guy. I am hoping for a friendship. So I say, hey, why don't we cook our evening meals together? And then we can cook our dinner together. I will actually be willing to share what little food I have with you. If you come just spend time with me and we get what we both need to get done. So he jumps at the chance. He apparently takes a cab here because this was just before Uber hit it big. And he gets to my place. My roommates are not there for some reason. When, like, one of them literally left as he was on his way. That was like a moment in my brain. But I was like, you know what? I'm a big girl. They'll show up back any minute. I'll give it a try. If I need to, I can call the landlady and she'll come over with a bat. That's another story. So he gets there. We are in the living room for a minute. And then I realize he didn't bring his food ingredients. Not any of his food ingredients. And I'm like, okay. I said, well, what happened to bring in your own food so we can cook it together? And he's like, oh, I finished it up just before I came over. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm very blunt at this point. I'm very literal. I will say what's on my mind, and I will make my point very clear the same way Sheldon Cooper does. And so I bring him into the kitchen. He helps me make my meals for the week. And then I said, okay, now the last thing we have to do is make the actual dinner, and then we can relax. I've got a bunch of movies you can pick from, or I think my roommate has Netflix. We can try that, and we'll go from there. And he is just, gone. He's on the couch. And I'm getting a little confused. I'm like, what's going on? Well, you said you're making dinner for us. I said, no, I very clearly said in my text message and multiple times today I've been saying, we will make the dinner tonight. And he's like, well, I'm from Florida, and down there, if a woman says they're going to make dinner, they're cooking dinner for me. And I'm just going to sit here on the couch. I'm like, no, either you can go or you can help me make the dinner, because I am not going to be the barefoot in the kitchen kind of girl that just waits and wines and dines on a man. He kind of takes a pause and he goes, oh, this is new. I like her. I like she's making me accountable. Let's see what we can do. Kind of attitude flip. And he's getting excited. Sorry, my dog. He's getting excited. He comes in. He cooks. We have a pretty good time. I tell him how I'm wanting to get into learning martial arts and other stuff. We get into a little stupid bet. He says he bets he could lift me off the ground, and I'm thinking, okay, let's see you lift me off the ground. I'm expecting something like around the waist or whatever. He manages to slide me off the sofa and hold me up in the air by my ankles, which I find hilarious at the time because I didn't know better. This is the most physical interaction I've had with any human being other than my mother and my 4 roommates. So my dog thinks that I'm talking to her because I'm talking in general. So we hang out, we have fun. I send him off. He doesn't ever come back to my house again. But then a couple weeks later, at the end of class, we have a conversation, and it's basically like him saying, "You're really hot. I want to get to know you as more than friends. We can start dating." And I'm thinking, thank you, but no, I'm still figuring myself out after getting out of an extremely abusive household. I do not want to date anyone. I was hoping for a friend because you make friends before you make boyfriends. And even then, I don't know you well enough to even consider being your girlfriend. And so he's not happy with that reaction. He's not happy like that. He goes, okay, okay. And kind of just like stomps off a little bit. I'm like, is that normally what guys do? And I let it go. And then not even the next week, when class starts, I resume sitting in the front of the class because I really want to focus on what we're seeing. And he had been sitting in the back, and I sat in the back to try and spend some friend time with him. Remember, it's my first attempt at having a friend in my entire life that is actually somewhat gone successful. So I'm sitting up at the front, and he goes out of his way to come in through the back, go all the way to the front, bump my chair in that passive-aggressive way that you see teenagers do in a Disney show or whatever the fuck it's called, and goes to sit in his other chair where he's just like kind of attitude glaring at me until the teacher shows up. He does this 4 times for 4 weeks in a row. And then on the 5th week, I have a little tablet mini. Only about $300, but back then it took me about 3 months to save up enough money to get it because of how tight my budget was. It gives me music and map directions, and it's how I write and submit a lot of my paperwork that is forced to be online. Because we were entering the era where the teacher would either force us to use the online portal or paper. We never knew which we were going to have to do. If it was paper, she accepted handwritten stuff, which was pretty nice, but they were trying to transition the community colleges into being online typing stuff only. And he pushes his hand down, like slams it down on the table, but it's not on the table. He slammed his hand down on my miniature tablet, which thank God had a case, and the book that was on top of it, and made them fall onto the ground. I'm just sitting there going like, isn't that the kind of shit you see in movies about teenagers being dumb fucks? Didn't you say you were 21 years old? Here on scholarship? I didn't say that to him. I'm just like, my brain is screaming that. I pick it up, and the teacher has to step out in the middle of class to make a call or whatever, and everyone else disperses outside because they don't want to be in the classroom. It's actually a really nice time of year. They want to stand and talk on the patio, so I go over to where he was sitting, and I say, that's not okay. You could have damaged my property, and it took a lot of work for me to get this. I don't appreciate it. We can't be friends anymore. I can ignore the fact that you were shoving me a little bit every time you walked into class, but this is not okay. Oh, what are you talking about? I didn't touch you. You've been shoving me in the back of my chair when I've been sitting at the front of class, and you always sit at the back of class. I'm not imagining that. And there were 2 people that literally just saw you slam my stuff to the ground today. It's like, I don't know what you're talking about. You're just being racial because I'm black. I'm like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? What? And he starts trying to gaslight me. I don't remember the exact context because it was 10 years ago, but I know when I'm being gaslit because my mother did that to me my entire life, and it makes me feel like a nasty, slimy thing is crawling in my chest. whenever someone tries to gaslight me. So I'm like, okay, not happening. I'm like, you know what? We're not friends. Just leave me alone. We can get through the rest of the semester and pretend we don't know each other. We're going to be adults about this and pretend we don't know each other, and that's going to be that. So I go back to my seat, class finishes out, and then I had gotten into the habit of kind of waiting to be the last to leave so that I wouldn't have to run into him at the end. This time he stuck around. And we had these classrooms where there was a classroom door that was there, and then there was this little nook type thing where it curved around where they would put a chair or something, and then an open hallway, and then the next sticking out doorway in another nook kind of thing. He was sitting in the nook, so I didn't know he was still there because he always supposedly had somewhere to be immediately after class. My teacher's the last one there. I'm like, okay, heading out. See you later. And she's like, are you okay? I noticed you and your friend aren't really getting along anymore. You're not sitting together anymore. I said, we're just not friends anymore. Turned out not to work out. Like, I'm being polite about all this. I've got no reason to shame. I've got no reason to throw anything out there. I'm just like, we're going to handle this maturely, because that's how I've seen people act in college. Because I forgot that half the college children are still children! Because they just came out of high school, where all that shit is okay! And I never went to high school, because I got tired of the bullying! So I step out. I don't remember exactly what the conversation that happened next was, but I do remember 2 key points. One, he got in my face and did the intimidation kind of shit that my mother did when she was drunk and threatening me with a knife or a belt and saying that she could cut me up and beat me up where no one would ever see it. And I'm getting that vibe from him. Beautiful, dark man, gorgeous personality, turned into a threatening a person that comes up to your chest moment because you don't like that I don't want to be your girlfriend. And you think this is going to get your way because you're on a football scholarship here. This is not Florida. This is not Texas. This is not a state that gives a shit about football. Our football team is shit. Our basketball team is in the trash. The only thing we have going for us sports-wise is maybe our baseball team. That's nationwide. And you think you're going to get the pro treatment. And so he comes up, he stands over me, basically says that I need to get in my place and know my place, and I have no right to treat him like shit because I'm a privileged white girl who was always popular in school and never did anything except for be entitled, and how dare I turn him down and make him out to be a monster because he's a black man. And again, I'm thinking, what does black have to do with anything? I'm fresh out of an abusive home where I don't know if I'm allowed to tell anybody about the abuse I've gone through, because I don't know if my mother can turn it around from all the legal shit she knows and put me in jail for defamation. So that's how cautious I've been about knowing this guy. I've mentioned that I was bullied a lot as a child, and I only mentioned the early grade school stuff because I was in a Hispanic neighborhood in a different state, and I was the only white kid in the school. And that's where the bullying was kind of the worst, at a young age at least. And so I'd only mentioned that situation to him in the past. And he was, because I've got acne right now. But I've had a body to kill since I was 11 years old, thanks to genetics. Never had large tatas. They were always teeny tiny. But I had the hourglass figure because my mom had broad shoulders and my father's family had big hips. So I had the nice hourglass figure. And being a starving motherfucker, I basically looked like a model at 5'3". I'm bragging because that is the only thing I had that I appreciated about myself through the entirety of my abuse, because it was the only thing my mother could not take away from me. Literally the only thing she could not destroy. So I'm standing there going, what does having attractive features that my bloodline gave me have to do with me being popular at school and giving me the right to treat you like shit when I've been forefront about what I want, forefront about my shortcomings, forefront about what I'm looking for as a friend, and very direct when I don't tolerate being bullied. in an adult setting. So he makes me feel extremely unsafe. I back away. I said, you know what? No, I'm not going to talk like this anymore. Don't talk to me ever again. Stay away from me, or I will take legal action. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your skin color is. I will take legal action. And I left. And I left because at that time, the professor came out of the classroom and I acted like I needed to ask her a question. And I walked with her. And as we got to the parking lot where my bicycle was parked next to her car, actually, which was very lucky that day, I said to her, I don't feel comfortable. I'm not sure if it's in my head or anything else, but what should I do? Like, I don't want to get him super in trouble because he hasn't really done anything yet. And I don't know if I have the skills to understand that I don't feel comfortable. But what should I do? And she turns to me, she said, look, I know you're a nice girl. I know you don't want him to get kicked out of his class because of his behavior or whatever's going on between these two of you. But if you feel like you are legitimately in danger, go to the campus police. Tell them what's going on and ask them if it's something you need to be concerned about because they'll be able to understand it better than I will. She was very polite, very sweet lady. Gave me a lot of good information my first year in community college. So I do what she says. I go to the campus police and I tell them what happened. I'm like, okay, this guy has been making me uncomfortable. This is what's going on. And then it's time to explain he's here on a football scholarship. He's like 6'6", dark black. You can't miss him. He's one of the darker students we have here because most of the black people avoid the sun here because it's hotter than it is in Florida. And they look at each other like, we can't help you, but there's a police station across the street from the campus you can talk to instead. And I'm not understanding their reaction. What I didn't know is that one of the Black Lives Matter movements had just been kicked off that same month because a policeman beat up a black man in Florida. And being in one of the southern states, southwestern, mind you, none of that black racial bullshit's going on in this state. None of it. None of it, period. It's all in the heads of the people that don't like being black and are reverse racism fanatics. You know them. The ones that remove the dignity from the people of color. Those ones. And I'm not thinking about that. I have no idea it's happening. I don't watch the news because I got depressed watching the news as a child when I lived in the area of the Columbine shootings that were going on and the cyberbullying and kids committing suicide because cyberbullying was new. Like, that's what I grew up with. Made me want to avoid the news entirely. So I don't know what to do. This is a legal matter. I tried not to talk to my mom for a couple of months to try and get her out of my head, but this crazy bitch would protect people from domestically abusive husbands to feel superior, and then turn around and go home and abuse her own daughter. So I knew if it was me having a legal safety issue, she would have the answers. So I talked to her. I don't tell her the part about him being black because I don't think it's relevant. I'm just like, this is a grown-ass man, muscled to high hell because of the football team, and he's threatening me. He tried to damage my property. He's been harassing me, and now he has literally threatened me. Not physically threatened me. He literally threatened me. So she drives over to where I live, and then drives us 30 minutes back to the college campus. This is all happening the same day, mind you. So my class was in the mid-morning. Talked to the college campus police, did a couple more classes, went home. It's a late afternoon by the time my mom gets me to the police department. The policeman, I'm nervous about, because I've never met any nice police people. My mother being one of the few official legalities that I knew. So more than one reason to be suspicious of the police, even as a white person. And I tell him everything that happened. I told him how I invited him over to my home, which my mom was like, God damn it, child, why'd you do that? I'm like, safest choice I got, woman. What do you want me to do? But this is what she does. Anyway. I tell the story. I explain what happened. I explain how he was good at the beginning, how he's been increasing his harassment, and thanks to growing up with my mother and getting her a criminal justice degree, I know that this is the red flags for someone becoming potentially aggressive, violent, and I'm in a very vulnerable state because I ride a bicycle home. And he has enough money to be paying for cabs and shit. So when the police officer takes down my message, he's actually really nice, really professional. He actually talks to me, not my mother, even though she's trying to interject multiple times. And he says, okay, I'm going to need a physical description. So again, I describe about 6'6", maybe closer to 7 feet tall. One of those running people on the football field, thickly muscled but kind of long, lean. This is his hairstyle. He's black, really, really dark black, like blacker than most of the people I've seen in here. And then the police officer goes, what? Like, that's the same reaction the campus police had. What's wrong? And my mom goes, there's a black rights movement going on right now, you moron. They can't come after this guy because he's black. And I'm like, he's threatening me. He's harassing me. All I want to do is have the campus police go to him, say, we've got our eye on you. Leave this girl alone. Continue on with your life. I'm following the steps I've been told to take. And they're telling me because he's black and there's a black rights movement that they can't do jack shit. And I'm just like, I don't care that he's black. I care that he's bigger than me. He's muscled to the nines. And he can physically hurt me and has shown aggressive posing and attitude and wording to where he's literally been able to threaten my safety. I don't remember the actual words he did it, but I remember it was severe enough to go to the police, okay? And I'm told no because he's black. And so I told the cops, I don't want him arrested. I don't want a restraining order against him. I'm literally only putting in this report so that in case something happens to me, you have evidence that it was premeditated on this guy's part because he's already been acting out. Can you please talk to the campus police? Because they said they couldn't do anything unless you, the police, tell them to send him a warning. They could not do anything. That's all I'm asking you to do. Because I've been told to follow the chain of command, basically. Police officer leans back. He thinks for a minute. He goes, okay. I can tell you're a good kid. I can tell you had no idea that any of this was going to be a problem because of what his skin color is. I will see what I can do. I can't make any promises. But just know that you making this report is going to put a bullseye on your back, which means he can come after you legally for defamation of character and to get you in trouble if he decides to do so. And I'm like, okay, it's 2014, not 1914, but whatever. Thankfully, the end of the story was that I'm pretty sure the campus police did give him a message, thanks to the police department, because I gave them his name at the time and everything else. And basically the fact that he was there on scholarship and his position on the football team narrowed down who he was pretty fucking quick, because we don't got a lot of black people in this area that I was going to campus college with. It was mostly poor white kids and Hispanic kids. And the guy never showed up in class anymore. Like, I didn't want him canceled. I didn't tell them to kick him out. I just wanted him to leave me alone and know that I was serious enough that I'm not going to be one of those girls like, oh, hee, ha, ha. Oh, don't threaten me, bitch. And then go running into his arms because he threatened me. That's all I wanted him to know. And I asked the professor later, I said, did something happen to him? Because, like, I went to the campus police and asked them to, like, say, tell him to leave me alone. But I didn't want him to have to lose class or anything like that. She said, no, he withdrew from the class on his own. He didn't talk to me or anyone about it. He just withdrew from the roster. And that was it. And that has been stuck in my brain for the last 2 hours of me lying here awake, trying to go back to sleep. And I thought, you know what? I've got a lot of stories about people who have abused me, not just my mother, or made assumptions about me and other things that made them turn nasty when I politely declined them. And I've thought of for years, about writing down things that have happened to me to kind of be like a lifeboat to others that might be in similar situations and not know if they're able to say something or if this is legitimately a bad situation or not. So I think that's what I'm going to do here. My tag is Mama Naughty, and I'm going to start sharing the real shit. Hopefully YouTube does not demonetize me for using a couple of swear words. But yeah, that's my moment. Thank you for watching. I know it was a long one. Have a good night or day, whichever you got.